Welcome to the Detecting History podcast. Hey everybody, and welcome to this week's podcast. Watcha always reminds me of my granddad. He always used to say that when he saw someone. If you're not from the UK, it's in some of the areas, especially down south, or maybe up north. I don't know. Let me know if it's up north as well. But watcha is kind of an informal way of saying hello. How are you doing? I hope you're all well. This week in the UK, we've had Storm Babette, so that's brought some chaos, and people have been suffering with the winds and flooding. So I really hope you're all okay out there and you're safe. It is still going on currently as I speak, as I'm recording this intro. So hopefully that clears off, and then us detectorists can enjoy a nicely soaked but not too soaked ground, hopefully, at the weekend. And hopefully when you're listening to this, you're on your way to a lovely dig on a lovely sunny day, and you're going to have perfect digging conditions. So what else has been going on this week? Yesterday, friend of the show Future Bleeps brought to my attention via an Instagram post the discovery of a new Iron Age British king due to a gold coin found in, wait for it, my home county, Hampshire. Oh my goodness, very exciting. Experts say the coin is stamped with the name Esun Ertos, meaning mighty as the god Essos or Essos. How do we ever know how to pronounce these things? Anyway, this king possibly led as a king out of Danesbury Hill Fort. And the experts think that the coin was possibly struck between 50 and 30 BC, shortly after Julius Caesar's first Roman raid attempt of Britain in 55 BC. So this is really exciting. It just shows how our hobby is influencing history. Great people out there finding great stuff, reporting it, and it's all getting recorded as it should be, and rewriting history. So exciting. So well done to the detectorist Lewis Fudge. I don't know if you listen, Lewis, but if you do, you are amazing and well done. And this week, the coin sold for a whopping £20,000, well over the estimate of around about £4,000. So there you go, everybody. Bit of exciting news. Take a look online. You'll find it. Google something like a new British king discovered, and you will see all the articles in all the different newspapers. And again, thanks Future Bleeps for sharing that post on Instagram for us all. Okay, enough of me rattling on. You're here to listen to our guest, and this week we've got the amazing Sophie on Insta at Girl That Digs. Sophie made her first post on Instagram, her first detecting post on Instagram on the 15th of April this year, and she has gone from strength to strength, finding some amazing things. A big character on Instagram, so helpful, friend of the show. You're really going to enjoy listening to her stories of everything she's found so far, and even some tales of some chaotic detecting experiences with robot lawnmowers. Who knew? Anyway, enjoy the interview. Welcome, everybody, to the Detecting History podcast. This week, we've got the wonderful Sophie, Girl That Digs, on with us this week. How are you doing, Sophie?
I'm great, Jake. Thank you. It's great to be on here.
Lovely to have you on. Thank you so much. It's been a while in the making, hasn't it? We've had this in the diary for a while, so I've been ever so excited to get you on.
Yeah,
I know you from Instagram, and I've been following you for a while. So you've got over 1,000 followers on Instagram, and you have been finding lots of amazing stuff, and you get to do lots of cool collabs and all the rest of it. So really looking to get to know you and your history in detecting. Which region of the UK are you actually in?
So I'm in Worcestershire.
Ooh.
So so sort of middle of the country, and I live on a farm. So I've got lots of fields around me. It's not a working farm anymore, but family farm. So sort of really rural.
Yeah.
And
that's handy.
Lots of history around here, which is great.
Yeah, lots of history, and handy that you actually live on a farm, right?
Yeah, which is probably why I got into it in the first place, to be honest. I think, the fact that I had fields around me meant I could just go out and potter with my cheap Chinese imported metal detector that I had found. But yeah.
Brilliant. That's a follow-up question, actually. So, how did you get into detecting, first of all? And you were inspired by the fields, but was there someone that got you into it specifically?
Yeah, so a bit of both, really. A long story. So my father-in-law was a farmer, and he retired probably, I don't know, 8 years ago, something like that, possibly a bit longer. Like all farmers, his mental health wasn't great. We were a bit worried when he gave up farming, what he was going to do. So we bought him this cheap crap metal detector, which, at the time had no idea what we were doing, just bought some 50 quid metal detector and gave him it for a present, kind of hoping that he'd still get outside and metal, into the fields. And metal detector, there was all a story about somewhere on the farm, great granddad had buried some, I don't know, coins or money or, something.
Yeah.
So he always had this story about, typical farmer wouldn't pay anything into the bank and he'd buried something somewhere. So we were like, go out and find it, get back in the field and do it. Well, he really wasn't very interested in it.
Oh.
So I know it was a real shame. So I took this metal detector, which was terrible, out into the field, and I just find absolute trash. But I loved it. I loved, just figuring out, I don't know, bits of old tractor and goodness knows what else.
Yeah.
And so that kind of, got my interest, really, I suppose, in metal detecting. And then the pandemic hit. My father-in-law passed away and the pandemic hit. And it was a friend of my brother-in-law's who just after the pandemic said, can I, he was a metal detector. He said, can I come and detect on your land? So we said, yeah, of course, no worries. And he said, well, bring a spare detector and the kids can have a go and you can have a go. So we spent this day with Rich, this friend of ours, and I absolutely loved it. Again, we found nothing really in our field. Apart from just trash, but it just got my interest and I loved it so much. I was so sort of excited by it, wanted to get into it, and then fast forward probably about 6 months or so, my brother-in-law bought a metal detector, a decent one. He started, and then he set up a group, Mercy Metal Detecting, which I'm part of. And he his first dig was April the 1st, and we got a message from him to say that they thought they'd found a scattered hoard or a purse spill. And I literally was like, no, he's taken the key. This is a joke, this is a complete wind up. First group dig, no way. Well, we knew the farmer, obviously being from a farming sort of family, lots of contacts. So it was on another farmer's land we know very well. So I said, right, let's get in the car, let's go over and check this out. If he had found, that's amazing, I need to see it.
Yeah.
So we went over there, and sure enough, they had found a scattered hoard or a purse spill, So I think they found about 33 Henry III coins.
Nice.
There's a few Romans as well.
Yeah.
And I just got to this group dig, and the atmosphere was amazing because everybody was really, excited, and they'd marked out the area, and it was amazing. And whilst I was there, I was sort of talking to one of the guys and said, I really want to get into it, but quite clearly it's predominantly male dominated hobby. I know lots more women coming through now, but I was a little bit sort of anxious about that. Would I,
can be intimidating, a
little bit. And I think guys don't understand that, but I wanted to get into it. And one of the guys from the group was just lovely and said, here, have a go with my detector. And because I said I'd need quite a lightweight detector. So I had to go, and I found a little silver thimble. I didn't find any of the hoard coins, but they'd clearly marked off that area. I wasn't allowed in there, but I did find a little silver thimble. And I just loved it. And I said to my husband, it. I'm getting a metal detector and I'm joining the group and I'm taking it from there. So
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
that's kind of how I got into it really. But and then of course I set up my Instagram really just to record my finds and my research that I did,
Yeah.
not realizing it would go from there. And
Yeah. It would take
so
off.
it's been amazing. But all that's happened since April. So, that was the 1st of April when all that began and my sort of hobby took off properly, really.
Yeah. Wow, that's a really good story. And then even when you went to that dig, you then found a silver thimble, which is on a lot of people
Yeah,
bucket listers, right? So they're like, oh my God. So
yeah,
yeah, when you get that first
yeah,
big find and you're immediately addicted, aren't
yeah,
you? Even if everything is
you
trash,
are.
every hole is exciting, isn't it?
Yeah, it is a completely addictive hobby. I
Yeah.
think, I've always had a passion for history and for the great outdoors. I love being outside, would walk a lot. So it finds everything that,
Mm,
I love really. I was hooked.
yeah.
Day one, I was absolutely hooked.
Hooked and like you say, great that you're in the environment you are and you've got all that land and then obviously your brother-in-law setting up the
Yeah,
group and everything. So it's just open to
yeah.
you, isn't it? And so you've grabbed it with both
It
hands.
Yeah, I think if I'd have had to go out there and seek out permissions, I know that's hard. It's hard even with contacts in the sort of farming community.
Mm,
But I think if I'd have been living in a town and I had to go out, find land or find or join groups, I think it would have put me off a little bit.
mm.
But because I had those avenues into it, it did help me
Yeah,
a lot.
made
Yeah.
it a bit easier for you. I always say, and myself, I was a bit nervous going to my first group dig and that kind of thing. The community is so, so lovely and so welcoming.
Really welcoming.
Yeah, any fears you've got, try and put them away and have a go. And Instagram's great
Yeah.
as well. And I think that's why that's so successful because those people that don't maybe want to mingle, they can actually chat to each other on Instagram. You see people doing that from all over the country,
Yeah,
don't you? They might not have ever met before.
absolutely.
Yeah, it is lovely. And then the same with the YouTubers as well. Obviously, I
Yeah.
first got into detecting. I went through all of Digger Dawn's back catalogue.
Haven't we all? It's brilliant.
Yeah, and just the way she was learning, you saw her journey learning the hobby to where
Yeah.
she is now. And obviously, she's got that natural way of explaining things really well because she used to be a teacher and things like that. And she's ever so funny. And so that gave me the confidence. I was like, Dawn can do it, I can do it. And you're also
Yeah.
inspiring people, I'm sure, to go
Oh,
out and
well,
have a go.
yeah, I mean, I hope so. I mean, the Instagram, you talk about the Instagram community. For me, it was a really massive thing because right away, I got on there and right away had followers. And I can't thank people on there really enough for inspiring me, but also helping me with, ideas and finds, giving me advice,
Oh, yeah.
and creating that sense of community and sort of friendship and belonging. I've made lots and lots of friends on there, which I've
Yeah.
since, met up with various rallies. And, this week I was out with Detective Ben and we went detecting one
Oh,
afternoon week, which was
lovely.
great.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I mean, Instagram has been really sort of fundamental to my journey, I suppose, in the hobby, and obviously Crawford finding me on there as well. So yeah, if it wasn't for everybody probably on Instagram, it wouldn't have perhaps, escalated in the way it has. But it's just great to be part of a really lovely community of people that all have the same interest, at heart, don't we? So
Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely. And
great.
as you mentioned, you're part of Team Crawfords. And then the hobby in itself is just so huge, isn't it? Because the actual finding of the stuff is a very small
Yeah,
part of it, although it's a big part of it, if you know what I mean. But then you've got
yeah,
all of the research before you go on a dig on the land. And then when you find an item, like you say, what is it? Some things are quite confusing, you're not quite sure. So then you talk
yeah,
to your people and work out what it is. And then if it's something really good, then you've got to go down the whole flow and you report everything on the portable antiquity scheme. And then who knows, if you find your hoard, then you've got a whole nother level, haven't you, where you're waiting to see where it ends
absolutely.
up and which museum, that kind of thing. It really is
Yeah,
as big as it's as big or as small as you want to make the hobby, isn't it? Depending on
it
your level of
is.
enjoyment. Yeah.
It
Yeah.
is, yeah. And I think early days, sort of, when I started, I wasn't finding, I was finding more artifacts than I wasn't finding Roman coins, and I wasn't finding, things that were sort of fairly easy to ID. I mean, I have
Yeah.
found some really random stuff, but actually those things are what I love about the hobby, because they're the artifacts with the social stories and the personal stories I've gone down so many rabbit holes, spent hours online researching, brooches. That I found this brooch with the word mother on, and it was linked to HMS Barham, which is a naval ship, a World War One and World War Two naval ship.
Yeah.
Which, there was a name on it, and I was trying to sort of pinpoint on crew lists this Patrick, it was from a guy called Patrick, to his mother. And yeah, I mean, it's just like, it's taken me down the deepest, not darkest, but deepest sort of rabbit holes on the internet of trying to sort of research and find out about things that have got a personal history. And I absolutely love that. I love finding the coins, and I love finding all the bucket listers. That's a complete buzz, isn't it? But for me, sometimes it's the weird and wonderful and the personal artifacts that you can actually research and find out about. I love the research, and I also really enjoy cleaning and restoring my finds as well. I've, learned a lot during that process, but yeah, I sort of enjoy everything really. It's a great hobby.
Yeah, it really is. And things are never done. When you were talking there, I was just thinking about what you were saying about the research. And I have a family tree on ancestry.co.uk. It's not a plug, but that's where it is. And all of the records are constantly being obviously digitalized out of the paper archives. So there's constantly more and more information becoming available to us on the internet. So I'm always revisiting finds and going back and seeing what more information I can find. And then it's the same with the cleaning. Some things you have to leave to like dry out for a bit so you can have another bit of a clean so you don't ruin the details. So again, that can take a period of weeks or months, can't it? So it really is. Never ending, and a field is never done on top of that. So we'll never run out of things to do. So let's talk about your detecting gear then. You said you started off with that cheap detector, and then your brother-in-law had that spare one. Where are you now? What did you start with, and where are you now?
So when I was dabbling in the field, it was like 50 quid off Amazon. I can't even remember where we bought it from, but it was obviously some, cheapy Chinese detector, which I was never going to find anything with, basically. But then my first detector that I bought, because I'd had to go with this guy Lee's, that's part of our club, and I said I really need something lightweight. His was quite heavy. I think he's got a Garrett. But it was quite heavy, and for me, I needed something lightweight. So my first detector, when I said, right, I'm doing it, I'm buying one, I got the XP ORX, and I loved it. It was great. Yeah, really, really happy with it. It was lightweight, and, I was finding stuff with it. Obviously, then I got involved with Crawford.
Yeah.
They're the main distributor for Mine Labs. So, they moved me over. Some will say to the dark side. I wouldn't say the dark side. I genuinely, I do love my Mine Lab now. So I've got an Equinox 700.
Yeah.
And again, it's very similar to the XP ORX in that it is lightweight. Obviously you've got the wireless headphones. And I think I've had more success with it just because it's got multi-frequency and
more programmable.
Yeah. And I'm a newbie, so I'm still learning all the time. I'm also technologically, challenged. So I'm not very good, it's very easy, isn't it, to go down the route of thinking, well, what can I tweak to settings wise to hopefully find more, or on our watch videos. And I started doing that, and then I realized I just was confusing myself, and I still am quite confused, like settings and what this means if I change that. And so I tend to just use the factory settings pretty much on it. but I've had success with it, and I've definitely found my first hammer with it. Well, my first two hammers, my only two hammers, boys, I should say, with it. And so I'm really happy with it. I love it, and genuinely kind of, I wouldn't use anything or talk about anything that I wasn't fully on board with. And I do. I'm really happy with the Mind Lab, and definitely found my machine. So but yeah, so I use that. I use the ProFind 40 pinpointer.
Yeah.
Again, my original pinpointer, which I actually really loved, was just a cheap hand-me-down from my brother-in-law. It's orange, so everybody would say, "Oh, have you got the Garrett carrot?"
Carrot, yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't a Garrett carrot. It was an Amazon special, I think. Just happened to be orange, but it did the job. But I've got the Profile 40 pinpointer now. So I use that. Very happy with it. And spade-wise, I tend to use these two. I like either the Mind Lab Pro spade. It is a little bit heavy for me to carry if I'm out and about today.
Yeah.
So probably my favourite is the emitter spade, which most of my permissions are pasture. So I really like that particular spade because it's got serrated edges to cut through the roots, and it's lightweight. It's quite small. It wouldn't be for everybody, I don't think, but I really like it, and I can carry it all day, and it doesn't sort of trouble me weight wise. So
that's the key, isn't it? You do have to consider weight on all these things, especially when you're out for so many hours, digging hundreds of holes. It takes its toll, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. I think I've built muscles in places that I didn't have them before. I found it got easier and it got more comfortable. When I first started out, I would ache a lot, but obviously I've just got more and more used to it, and I can be out all day now without suffering too much the next day. But my lightweight machine and my lightweight spade definitely help.
Yeah, it does make a difference, doesn't it? And it's good to meet up with folks on digs, and everyone's always happy for you to hold the machine and see the weight if you're not quite sure which route you're going to go. And then all the folks in the shops are quite helpful as well if you can make it to one of the stores, whichever one it is. And then finds bag, have you got like one that you got around your waist, or do you just have a jacket? What do you do with your finds?
No, I have a fine bag. I had, again, just an Amazon special. Good old Amazon. I feel like my entire life comes from Amazon, to be honest. And the delivery drivers are always here. But I had quite, I've got two finds pouches, but the one I just, wear around my waist and put kind of everything in, my phone and all my supplies and, trowel and pinpointer and everything. But I do find that it can get a bit heavy and it annoys me after a while, so banging around on the hip. I don't know if you find that.
Yeah.
But so I do have a small XP pouch, which just lately, the past couple of times I've been out, I've used that, and it sort of sits more like a bum bag from the 80s or 90s whenever we were wearing bum bags. I find that quite comfortable, to be honest. And just lately, I've been using that. I could just about get everything in. Have to sort of streamline my supplies a bit, but it would be no good on a hot day. You couldn't get like a bottle of water or anything in there, but that's quite handy. Yeah, and it's just quite comfortable because it's not sort of banging around on the. I have to like spin it round to the back, to the back. Otherwise, it just makes my hip ache. But I wear that and take a little coin. Pot and
that's it. That's all you need then, isn't it? It does very much depend on weather and how close I am to either the car or the house. So I live in a house on a farm. It's not my farm. So sometimes the field could be like 200 meters down the road. Sometimes I've got to walk like 1.5 meters through kilometers, to the field because it's not accessible apart from tractor. And I don't have one of those.
Yeah.
So in the summer as well, when it was quite hot, so I've got a sort of an Amazon special as well. We are not sponsored by Amazon, people. We just
No.
shop there a lot. So I've got like one of those army utility ones. So the bag is all at the side, and then that gives me room for my I've got a Garrett serrated hand digger, which is on my belt loop on the other side, so that kind of evens me out. And then I tend to have a backpack on, and in there I've got like my water and my snacks and all that kind of stuff. But then in the summer, it gets really hot. And I actually did get myself like a fishing vest thing this year. So it was like a ladies' fishing vest, but it's got about 25 pockets on it. It's amazing. So you can have like your good finds and then your trash and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it does depend. And it does get heavy when you find all the boats, the bits off a tractor, and then it starts loading you down, doesn't it? Because
I know.
You have to take those away with you, folks. You must take them away and dispose of them properly. And then, but if I've got my backpack, then I can shove some of that in there, and at least it evens it out a bit for me, because it can get bad.
I know. I have to say, I wouldn't say I'm lazy, but I do try and keep my paraphernalia to a minimum. So it's rare I take a backpack. Yeah. Sometimes if I'm out on my own, I'll take a backpack, I'll take it off, I'll leave it by a tree or something.
Yeah.
Just so I've got stuff to hand. But yeah, other times I tend not to wear one. I get frustrated, with a backpack on. If I'm too laden down with things, it frustrates me a bit and I'm uncomfortable. So I try and keep it to a minimum, to be honest. I'm probably not the best sort of kitted out there is. And also I know a lot of people have, and I need to look into these, but I know people have like their little brush and their pinpointers on like the little bungee cords, so it's all attached.
Yeah.
I'm not. I don't have anything kind of attached to me. So I have left pinpointers, places before, and I need to think about that really. But I keep it to them, and I don't take, and I know lots of people do, I don't take a little spray with me.
Oh.
So again, it's a weird thing. If I find something, I'll rub it off, I'll dust it off. I have got a little brush in my bag, but sometimes I like it to prolong the excitement.
I know what you mean.
Dust it off, think, great, pop it in my finds pot, and then I sort of look forward to getting home and cleaning it off properly.
Yeah.
It's just a bit of a weird thing for me. It's like it keeps the excitement going. So I have like 2 Christmas mornings from my detecting day.
I know what you mean. You often get on the videos when you watch people find the coin ball. They look at the imprint first, and I'm like, what is it? What is it? And they really prolong just that bit themselves as well, don't they? It's the magic of finding that item. I totally get what you mean. I've got a little spray bottle, and I went to, if you go to Primark, near the till, they've always got these different size clear cosmetic bottles, and they're the spray ones. They're only like £1 for a pack of 5 or something. So I've got them, but I've also seen people using like empty sunscreen bottles and stuff like that, because they've got a nice force of spray. Okay, right. So we'll move on to then, Sophie, onto your best finds. What best finds have you got?
Well, I mean, the hammered coins elude me pretty much. I have found 2, though. Probably, I think my first hammered that I found was Charles I shilling thing. Ooh. I think the shilling is quite big, isn't it? The Charles I shilling. That was a whopper.
Yeah.
So that's my first hammered, which I was really excited about. That probably was my best find until I went to the Rodney Cook Memorial weekend, and I found a beautiful Elizabeth I Tower Mint half wrote, I think it was.
Lovely.
Which I was really excited about. So I think that's probably my best one, just because I don't know, but I don't know what it is, because I'm a female detectorist. I'm always drawn to, that female onyx, and not that we've had many, obviously. And in terms of Roman coins, I always wanted like the Faustina, the Elder or younger, and I found a Sabina, silver denarii, the other week as well, which is on my Instagram. But I always loved the sort of feminine finds.
Yeah.
So for me, bucket list was an Elizabeth I, Queen of Description. So I was at the Rodney Cook Memorial and I found this half rope there. It was an absolutely terrible signal. I was detecting with somebody, and to be honest, if it hadn't been for him sort of making me keep digging, I probably would have abandoned it because it was a bad signal, and it was one of those, when you dig the hole and then you're like, I don't know, it was just really iffy.
Yeah.
And I said to the friend that I was with on the day, just come and wave your detector over this, just see what you think. He's like, no, I think you need to keep going. So anyway, I did keep going, and I did get this lovely half rope. So that for me is probably one of my best finds. The silver denarius, the Sabina, who was wife of Hadrian, that I found last week was pretty epic, to be honest. Beautiful coin, and the detail on it just blew me away. Can't believe that had been in the ground for 1900 years, nearly 2000 years.
Yeah.
And then last week it had a bit of an awesome week last week, because I found that, and then I went on our land here at the farm. I very rarely detect here, just because we don't farm the land now, we have tenant farmers,
right?
And but there's a lot of trash on the land, to be honest,
right?
And generally I haven't found much here. But I went on one of our fields that had just been ploughed. I've kind of named it Halfpenny Hill, but just because I found all about these halfpennies on there. And I thought, I'm not really going to find anything else, I don't think. But it had been ploughed. And so I went back on there, and I was really, really amazed and delighted to find a fibula on there.
Oh.
So I know it's not, on the bucket list of finds, it's probably not up there for most people, but for me, I think the fact it was on our land, and I knew therefore that, the Romans had passed through, been on our land, or whatever, so close to home, for me, that was, I was just so chuffed, because
it's magic, isn't it?
It kind of meant a lot, being on our land and being so close to home. I was like, felt like I could feel them in that field. So, I love that. But I've had lots of lovely finds, and I have been lucky. But the sort of the hammers, they do elude me, to be honest. There's lots I would like to find, but I haven't.
Yeah, you'll get there. You'll find them. You'll find your groove for sure. And it's interesting that you have dug that signal, like you were saying, and it was only the fact that someone was like, come on, and you did. And it's quite scratchy. The thing is, they're so thin, aren't they? It depends how they're laying in the ground. So it's like they're one way, or maybe partially under a rock. And quite often there's other trash in the same place. You're hearing like an irony tone, but then there's a good tone, and you're like, shouldn't I? But things like crotal bells as well, you're always going to get the mixed tone with the crotal bell, because you've got the bronze, but then you've got the iron ball inside, so it's going to give you a bit of an iffy signal. So that's why it's important, as to what you were saying earlier, to learn your machine and become one with your machine almost, isn't it? And you really understand what's happening.
Or like me, just stick everything.
Yeah, absolutely. I like your affinity with the different the sort of female monarchs and rulers and things. I'm exactly the same, actually.
I know. I think it's the woman thing, but I always like the feminine finds. I found hemweights and all sorts of things, but things that are very personal, like the badge that the brooch that I was talking about earlier from this. It's basically a coin that's been gilded and engraved with the word mother on, and then it said from Path at the top and HMS Barham at the bottom. And just the fact that it obviously belonged to a mother, and clearly, from a son who was, well, I think he was probably involved in the First World War rather than the Second World War. Just from doing my research, the date of the coin was 1910, so I'm thinking it was probably First World War sort of memento that he'd had, made and engraved and gilded for his mother. And also that particular ship, it turns out, was involved in a famous naval battle, the Battle of Jutland in World War One, but also it gone on to be involved in World War Two and had been the only ship to have been sunk by a German U-boat in World War Two. So it was this sort of very famous ship, if you know your naval history. And but yeah, that particular artifact, I was drawn to it because of, it belonged to a mother and was clearly from a beloved son. And yeah, it was just, I don't know, things that have that sort of feminine link or I really like, to be honest.
And all the emotion behind that object, right? He was going off to war. They
I know.
both knew what that meant. Can you imagine? And so that
Absolutely.
gift would have had so much significance. Yeah, all that emotion.
It really did. And going down the research, I mean, I fell down a complete research a rabbit hole with that one. And I actually, things came to light, so I couldn't see any of the detail on this brooch until I started cleaning it. And then the words from Pat appeared. And I thought, well, is that a Patricia, to a mum? Is that Patrick? And then I saw the words HMS Barham. So then I Googled HMS Barham. And, the first thing that came up was that this ship had been blown up by and sunk by a German U-boat. I felt emotionally, like I actually, for a minute there, I was like really emotionally affected.
Yeah.
Because I just thought, I found a brooch from some son who's potentially, his life has been lost in World War II, and his mother's lost this beautiful brooch that, a beloved son had obviously had made for her. I'm quite an emotional soul at the best of time, but, it really affected me. I felt like that, feeling of shock, when you read something, it's like, oh my God. But then I think, doing a bit more research, I think he was probably on the boat in World War One, which, thankfully there were no casualties in World War One, that particular ship. So yeah, the research and the finds, just take you down whole other routes, don't they? Quite emotional sometimes as well.
They do, absolutely. Yeah, we've had some fascinating stories and people finding out who and what things belong to. Okay, so there's some fantastic finds already, Sophie. Very jealous. I then swiftly always move on to, have you found anything weird or odd yet in your journey?
Yeah, so I've had a few probably, but one of my favourite, again with a sort of feminine link, I suppose, was I found it was half of a butterfly, and it was very decorative, very pretty, and I loved it. It was just like, half a butterfly wing, and couldn't really understand what it was. I had no idea. I was trying to ID it. Again, another rabbit hole. I found out lots about medieval obsessions with butterflies and, other periods of history having sort of these obsessions with butterflies. So in my head, I was thinking, oh, this might be really exciting. It turned out, actually, Darren from History and Earth helped me ID it, who I know you had on here a few weeks back, didn't you, about his sword? But he found, it must have been on the PAS, he found a possible ID, which we believe it was a Victorian skirt lifter.
Oh.
So it was a decorative butterfly, which would have been attached to what looked like a pair of barbecue tongs or cooking tongs, which Victorian ladies, I did not know this, would carry around with them. God knows where they put this pair of tongs when they weren't using it, because I mean they were, quite sizable. But yeah, they'd whip out their skirt lifter and pick up their skirt to go traipsing across the fields, or I don't know, muddy lanes, pathways. I mean, who knew? who knew that there was, a gadget for dirt lifting? Only I could find it.
You don't see that on Downton Abbey, do you? When they're
No,
skirt
nobody
lifting and
mentioned the skirt lifters, which understandably, to be honest, because it doesn't sound good. So that was quite a funny find. But I did really like it. It was quite a decorative little butterfly. It was very sweet. But this week I managed to find a tin of mackerel. one of my dates.
Was there any best before date on it? Was it very old?
I think no, it was. I think it had been eaten somebody's picnic. But the things you find out hilarious, aren't they? But you've got to laugh because some days, I mean, that's all that turned. I mean, literally on Tuesday, I think that was my best find, was a tin of mackerel, which I managed to have a giggle about. But.
Yeah, I've had one field near me actually, and it had quite a few old mackerel tins in it. And I said to my farmer about it. And he said, well, quite often when they're in the cabs and they're harvesting and that, they would have something like that and just wolf it down and lob the tin out out the tractor window. Yeah, because they couldn't stop. They had to get going because, weather, whatever, they need to get the harvest in. I was like, oh, okay, that made it a bit more special then. Because I was like, okay, I can understand the connection. That's very interesting, very interesting. So what's your favorite history era then, Sophie? Which is your favorite at the moment, either to find that you want to find?
Yeah, that's a tough question, isn't it? For anybody who loves history, I think that's quite a tough question. I mean, I've always been obsessed with Viking era. Vikings. I had you're talking about the family tree on Ancestry. So I've got a family tree on Ancestry. I'm the last in my line of with the James. I've always loved the Viking era. I've always been obsessed with Vikings. Ever since Mum and Dad took me to the Jorvik Viking Museum when I was young, in New York. That was fantastic, and that really sort of piqued my obsession and interest in that period. And I did my DNA as part of doing my ancestry research on the website there. But it turns out I have some Viking DNA. I believe it's Viking. I'm saying it's Viking DNA. So 5 or 6% like Swedish, Danish DNA. So I feel like maybe my love of Vikings is, because I'm a little bit Viking.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I love Vikings, but I think probably I've always been fascinated in the Tudor and Elizabethan era. Always loved, anything to do with Henry VIII and Elizabeth I. Absolutely loved that. So very, very interested in that period, and also a love of Georgian history as well.
Yeah,
I think the grandeur of the Georgian age. I grew up in a Georgian town, so Georgian architecture for me is, I just find it absolutely beautiful, stunning. And as I say, the Georgian fashions, and I quite fancy myself as a Georgian duchess, I think, with all the amazing wigs and bustle, just amazing.
Absolutely.
So it's hard, but I'd say probably those 3 periods. But I think over the course of this hobby, I've actually become more and more interested in medieval history. That was a period I knew very, very little about, to be honest. Plantagenets, I didn't know a great deal about them, but I've, thanks to Dan Jones, I've been, sort of researching and reading and listening to a number of his audiobooks on, Plantagenets. And so, there's I tend to like periods with a bit of grit.
Yes.
I like gritty history, and the Vikings and, Henry VIII, and obviously just sort of fascinated by, gritty periods of history, really. So
well, there's a real story to get your teeth into.
I love the social history and the stories, and yeah, amazing.
Okay, great. So, who is your favorite monarch or emperor then? We have sort of touched on this before, but at the moment, who do you think's your fave?
So I'd say probably Elizabeth the First.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm keeping it. Yeah, I'm going with the female monarch here,
Yeah.
and I just always, as I say, always loved Tudor history, Elizabethan history. I think her 45 years as a monarch is pretty darn impressive, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I like a strong female. I find that inspiring, and even today we have to fight, certain stereotypes, and don't we? And glass ceilings and whatever. But, for me to be a female monarch then, and have sort of, such a successful reign, really. I know it was a bit mixed, but generally I think her reign was seen as the sort of fairly glorious years of British history, weren't they? It's amazing, really, that that she sort of accomplished what she did. And then I've got this massive fascination with her did they didn't they relationship with Robert Dudley, Earl of Leicester, and love that. And she was just very well educated, very intelligent, shrewd, determined, strong female monarch. So I think she would probably be my favorite, I think.
Yeah. And imagine like all that backstabbing that took place and people trying to like take over, obviously, the throne. And, how strong she had to be in her character and just judging who to trust and who not to trust. Yeah.
Absolutely. I think she had, from what I've read, she was very shrewd and very careful in the advisors, wasn't she, that she had around her?
Yeah.
Good advisors. Always fascinates me, her story, with Robert Dudley. And I love to go to Kenilworth Castle. I don't know if you've been to Kenilworth Castle.
No.
So that's worth a visit, because obviously Robert Dudley hosted Queen Elizabeth I there, and he built all these amazing staterooms, and it is just a ruin now, but you can walk all around it. They've got this fairly amazing sort of walkway that you can climb the ruins and see the views and see, the bedroom that she would have stayed in. And it's just it's quite amazing.
Right. The next section we move on to then, Sophie, is we talk about how you go about getting your permissions. But obviously you've got all your own land. Do you ever try and get permissions from anyone anywhere, or do you have any tips for people on how to go about getting permissions?
Yes, so I have some land here that I detect on. But as I say, I tend not to go on our land, just because up until last week, I'd never found anything of, interest really here. Now I know there's a rover on here, I feel a bit different about it. But so I have my own permissions, and I have to say quite a few of them are through contacts and, within the farming kind of community, people that I know. But I'm also quite involved with our local village and part of the historical society history group here. I had some links and contacts through them. And also, obviously, I've run my own business. I work from home in have a beauty business, which anybody that's read the Crawfords blog will know about. But obviously, I've got quite a lot of contacts through that as well. So really, most of my permissions have come from people that I know.
Yeah.
I have written letters, tried writing letters. I've tried sending emails. I haven't been very successful in that regard, but I have got another permission, which is actually a sort of a country house hotel not too far from here, which I emailed them, and they had quite a few fields there, and a medieval field with it's a very bumpy field actually, with medieval ponds in. And so I approached them and asked, would they let me detect there, and they agreed. So that was great. But mainly, it's been not easy for me, but my permissions have come from people I know. So obviously you're halfway there, really, aren't you, with that? It's harder when you've got to approach people by letter, or, you've got to go knocking doors. I haven't yet tried knocking on doors. quite, am I shy? I don't know if shy is the right word, but I would certainly be a bit anxious knocking somebody's door and saying, by the way, would you let me go and detect it? Just because I don't like, if anybody was rude or obviously it does off, I'd hate it. So yeah, I haven't gone down that route, to be honest. And as I say, when I've sent letters that you don't always get a reply, despite me putting like a stamped addressed envelope in, or give my email. I mean, it's easy for people, but they just don't, do they? And it is hard. I know there's a lot of farmers are very precious about their land. They don't want anybody on it. So yeah, it's difficult. I mean, in terms of tips, I'm still at that point with my hobby that I'm still getting tips from everybody else. So I can't say I really have any great tips for getting permission, but just keep at it, I think, and be yourself and be personable and friendly, and hopefully, people will see that and trust you. And
yeah, absolutely. It's quite interesting. It can be quite surprising when you start talking to your friends and family about what you're doing, and then suddenly they'll go, oh yeah, Bob's got like 100 acres, you should ask Bob. And you're like, I didn't know Bob had any land. And then it's just like when you let people know what you're doing, they often really want to help you, don't they? So yeah, it is a good way to share with people that you know and love, and then all of a sudden you might get these opportunities coming out.
I did have a client again, like Bob with the land. She was like, oh yeah, I've got, a small paddock field. I mean, it's sort of like my garden, but you're welcome to come. Well, it's in the village that I live close to, and it is actually a historical conservation area. So I was really, really excited. So I went, detector in hand, and got there. Yeah. Oh my gosh, my machine was going absolutely crazy. Could not understand what was going on with it. But it turned out she'd got one of these lawnmowers, like the robotic mowers that just goes round the lawn. Well, obviously they have to bury a cable,
perimeter thing for it to track to
keep it in there. So top tip, if anybody says, oh, come and detect on my small paddock / garden, just check they've got a robotic mower, because I had to abandon it. It was really embarrassing as well. She was really excited to know if there was anything in the garden. She'd been gardening and she dug up some little lead toy, and found like the odd thing, and she was really keen for me to detect there, but I just couldn't, because this blooming robotic mower and the wire that went around the perimeter was just sending my machine crazy. So I did actually post on Instagram that day and was like, has anybody experienced this? Is this a thing? And quite a few people were like, that's going to definitely affect the machine.
Yeah, big time. And if it's not easy just to turn it off, because sometimes it's hardwired in, isn't it? I've had a few fields where the field next door has got cows or horses in it or something, and they've got an electric fence going on, and there's like a car battery, but the farmer will often just disconnect that for me if I ask him nicely, because otherwise same thing, I've been going around and the noise in your head, it's you can't pick out the repetitive kind of noise of that electric fence with the actual tones, and it's like, no, I'd rather give up, go somewhere else. Absolutely. Okay, lovely. Well, we're going to move on to now the bucket list section. So first of all, we'll talk about what's on your bucket list, Sophie, that you haven't found yet, that you really want to find. You can't wait for that day. And then we'll talk about the ultimate bucket list and get you to place our next object on the ultimate bucket list.
My gosh. Oh my gosh. There's a lot on my bucket list. As I say, the hammers generally elude me. I haven't found many of those, so would like to find another hammer.
Yeah.
I know everybody wants to find gold. I mean, that doesn't bother me so much. I'm not, I'd be happy if I found a gold coin, but it's not something that really excites me. I think if I'd love to find a gold stator.
Oh, yes.
And I mean, it's a weird thing. I've ridden horses all my life, of horses, and probably see in the background. Behind me there's a big painting of horses. But I love the stators with the the horse on.
I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah, I would love to find one of those. I don't know whether the tribe around here, I think it's the Dubonese, don't know how you say it, but so yeah, I would be really, really delighted to find one of those. That would probably be top of my bucket list. But again, like I said, for me, it's not necessarily about the coins, it's more about personal artifacts. And so I think if I would find gold, I would probably, I would rather it be like a piece of jewelry or, anything Saxon Viking, like a pendant or something like that would be
personal, amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, something personal. So yeah, probably, like a Saxon Viking piece of jewelry or gold pendant or anything like that would probably be up there as well.
I love that. And so with that, then we move on to our ultimate bucket lister list. So we've had several objects placed on there already. Now, this can be something absolutely crazy and out there, like a big bucket of gold coins, or it can be something quite sensible and achievable. So the new detectorists can think about, oh, okay, yeah, I'd like to find that too. So we had Paddy put a crotal bell on there. We've had a gold noble put on there. What would the item be that you'd like to place on the ultimate bucket lister list?
Probably would be the gold stater. If that's not on there,
it's not on there yet. No,
I'll put it on there then.
Brilliant.
Yeah, I think because they are. You can find them. I know lots of people that have found them. Yeah. I know lots of people that have got more than one. So I don't feel it's too way out there, but it is pretty. It's pretty special, isn't it? So
very, very special.
I think I'm going to add, a Celtic gold stater to the
Brilliant.
list.
Excellent. That's a great addition to the list. And I'll look forward to doing a little bit of extras on the gold stater as well. And thank you, Sophie.
You're welcome.
Brilliant. Okay. So what's going on with you in the future then? Have you got anything you'd like to promote? Anything else you'd like to let us know about? Any big digs coming up soon?
No, I mean, it's been a busy year for me in terms of detecting, really. And I was invited to the Rodney Cook Memorial, which I absolutely loved, by Crawfords and Detectable, and then joining you on here as well on the podcast. So yeah, I've had lots of sort of things happen this year, which detecting has brought my way, which, I didn't expect for a million years I'd be involved with. If you'd have asked me back in January.
Yeah, well, fantastic. And we look forward to getting you on again in a year's time, Sophie, and seeing where you are and what else you found.
If I found that gold data.
Yeah, exactly. I want to know all about it. Absolutely. Well, Sophie, we can find you on Instagram, can't we, at Girl That Digs. Yeah. So that's when people can come and have a look and see what you found already and follow you on your detecting journey. Yeah. I just want to say a massive thank you for joining us on the podcast this week. It's been a wonderful interview. So thank you very much.
Welcome.
And we look forward to getting you on again soon.
Yeah, I can't wait. I shall look forward to it. I hope I've got more stories to tell.
Brilliant. You will. I know you will. All right. Thanks, Sophie. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
There you go, everybody. That was the lovely Sophie. You'll find Sophie on Instagram under her profile name at Girl That Digs. Just such a lovely, warm-hearted lady, and she's only been in the hobby since April, really, and she's already found so much stuff, made so many friends, and really inspiring, and shows, detecting community is wonderful and we're all here for everybody. Quick ask from myself. I need a favour. If you've listened to this podcast or any of the podcasts, please go into your podcast player, give us a thumbs up, rate us, subscribe, leave a comment, go back through and listen to any episodes you might have missed. Check out the midweek extras. We've got our Patreon channel, remember, where you'll get the episodes a couple of days earlier than everyone else. So go to patreon.com/detecting history podcast. And we've also got our Etsy store where there's some merch. So have a look. Christmas is coming. Help support the podcast and help us keep it going. So that's etsy.com/detecting history pod for our merch store. Until next week, thanks very much. Bye.